welcome to Think Big, Act Small in the mornings. Really nice to be here with you. And today we're going to talk about this really important idea for us leaders to take action when a relationship is strained, feels strained, isn't quite right. There's a little bit of tension or friction in relationship. I'm interested to know, what do you do when you sense a little bit of friction, a little bit of tension? Do you take action? Do you lean in and ask a question? Or do you wait for the best? It's a really important skill for us leaders, and I want to discuss it and dig deep into that today. But first things first, welcome. Welcome to the Think Big, Act Small morning show. My name is Tristan. I believe the world needs more great places to work. This Think Big, Act Small morning show is here every Tuesday and Thursday morning, 8:45 a.m. to 9 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time. It's on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, by the way. And what I believe is the world needs more great places to work, and how I believe that us leaders can create more great places to work is to learn the skills, build the confidence, and be supported to become the best leaders we can be so we can create these great places to work. Often I talk about character, and that is the character of us leaders embracing this leadership lifestyle and learning the skills and leaning in even when it's hard. Sometimes I talk about culture, and that is how do we create this agile, nimble, connected team culture. And lastly, I've started to talk more recently about cash flow and the importance of securing our business, because as the business owner or a business leader, it's our job to stay in business so we can continue to serve our clients and serve our team. And today, the topic about these strained relationships and what we do about them is in the character part of this system that I like to discuss and give it a bit of context. If you are here with me, please say hello in the comments. I'd love to know you're here, either live or on the replay. I check them out for sure. I'd love to know you're here. If you'd prefer to get in touch offline or not on the stream, tristan@tristanwhite.com.au is the best place to find me. Let me check out these comments. Jeffrey's here. G'day, Jeffrey. Nice to have you with us on a Thursday morning. Carmel's here as well. Really appreciate you being here. Carmel, early for you. And Jeffrey's already got a suggestion here. Step back, breathe, assess, plan, and take a timely action. Jeffrey, that's your approach to a strained or tested relationship. Jeffrey, I think that's a fantastic approach, and I'd just like to dig into this a little bit more. And Carmel, I'd love to know your thoughts on how or what you do about tested or challenging relationships, because we all have them. Even the best of friendships or the best of non-work relationships have ups and have downs, and have things we agree on and have things that we might not feel very comfortable about. And one really important concept that I've learned to understand is the fact that the help that I think is useful to someone else just may not be helpful. My so-called help, when I'm leaning in and doing my best to help someone, it may not be useful. They may not be looking for help. And the same applies in reverse. And that is that someone else, the best of intentions, the best of approaches, or the best of kind-hearted way, but their help just may not be very helpful for you. It might be hindering, it might be challenging the way your relationship, it might be challenging your thinking in a way which is not useful and not helpful. And so, first things first, I always like to make sure that us leaders take full responsibility for ourselves, and that is, here's a question for you to consider today. Is your help helpful? Is the help that you're providing for others, is it helpful? There's the first starting point, because that's a question I always like to ask and consider. I don't always get it right, but it's really important in my experience to check that. Secondly, if someone else is providing help or support or communication or whatever it might be, and it just doesn't quite feel right, what is the lens? What is the problem? What is the challenge? Firstly, as Jeffrey says, yes, we need to consider our perspective, their perspective, maybe the other perspectives and the like. But if there is a challenge and it's not going away and it's replaying in your mind, then in my experience, waiting rarely works. Waiting rarely works. It is required for us to lean in and have a conversation and say, hey, I noticed this. It is a challenge for me, but I'd like to know more about it. I'd like to understand it, because my view is different to the one that you've got, but I think it's important that we discuss it and we make sure that we have a conversation around it. That is my initial thought is one, review it, one, consider it, and then be brave enough to have a private conversation. Remember, as leaders, it's really important that we often praise in public, but we challenge or have these maybe uncomfortable or more challenging conversations in private is my experience. I can see there's a comment here from Carmel. Let's check out what Carmel's got to say here, and that is that sometimes I think the relationships are seen differently by the other person. Yes, Carmel. Yep, so very important. So very important that we consider the other perspective, because opinions are opinions and perspectives are perspectives, but there's always others, and the best approach, we do have to make a decision as leaders as to which direction we go and what action we take, but we also need to be aware that we've certainly got blind spots, that other people have got different views that can be very helpful for us. Difficult conversations are what I'm working on at the moment, says Carmel. So Carmel, thanks for sharing. That's very brave and bold of you to share that with us, and I appreciate that it's difficult. In my experience, one of the most useful tools that I've come across for having these so-called uncomfortable or difficult conversations, which often are only difficult or uncomfortable for us. The other person is ready and willing to adjust to hear our perspectives and to gather feedback. Often we make it much worse than it needs to be. But one tool or tip that I learned a few years back when I was working with a coach myself, an executive coach, is the concept of an inoculation. An inoculation, a part of a conversation. And yeah, it seriously means a bit like a vaccination, like the COVID jabs that most of us have been having. And how it goes is something like this, that we've got a challenging situation, we want to and need to and are willing to bravely have this conversation with someone about a difference of opinion. But what happens if we're not careful is we show up, and we've replayed it and replayed in our head so many times that we show up in the conversation and we vomit so much stuff out that the other person doesn't know what's happening. A whole lot of words come at them that sound a bit attacking or can sound attacking. And very, very quickly, their defense goes up and it's not a very productive and constructive conversation. How the inoculation works is that just like the concept of inoculation, we give just a teeny tiny bit of said uncomfortableness or difficultness or challenging thing, and then we stop and we ask for feedback and we ask for whether we can build up that the robustness to have the conversation. So it might go something like this. If Carmel, if I had a challenge, you and I worked together, I had a challenge, I might find a time where we're both in the same space or on the phone if we really had to, and I might say, hey Carmel, have you got a minute? And hopefully it's the right time for you. And then, Carmel, there's something I need to talk to you about. It might be a bit challenging or uncomfortable. Is now a good time? And then once I ask that question, I stop, I wait, I take a deep breath, and I allow you to respond and say, of course, Tristan, let's have that conversation now. We'll have this quiet conversation. Or you might say, nah, now's not a good time. Can we do it this arvo? Can we do it tomorrow? Whatever it might be. But it allows it to be an actual conversation as opposed to one person unloading on another person. So that's the inoculation concept. In my experience, nearly always the other person on the other end of the conversation says, yeah, of course, I'd love to hear it right now. I'd love to, let's any challenges, let's work through it. That's now works. On the flip side, for me as the person coming with the challenge, the inoculation allows me to bravely step into the conversation, then ask a question, and then take a deep breath and allow the other person to speak. And then I actually stop, I slow down, I gather my thoughts, and then I can move forward, hopefully in a more relaxed, a more calm, and a more clear way, which is so very important for these type of conversations. And so that's one tool that I've learned and that I've been using and refining for these conversations that aren't pleasant. But if we're going to embrace the leadership lifestyle, build these skills that really improve our character, then in my experience, these are the type of things we need to bravely try and give a shot as we go. So that is the topic that I wanted to share with you today. What do we do with these strained or relationships or relationship with a bit of friction? And is it just us who feels the friction, or should we check, as I like to say, with the other person and say, this is what I'm noticing. How do you find it? How do you perceive this situation? What's the real challenge for you? And there's a good question for all of us to ask ourselves. What's the real challenge for us as well? Jeffrey writes, I like the sound of that inoculation method. Yeah, Jeffrey, give it a shot. I reckon it's worked. It's really been really powerful for me. I've been teaching it to others, both at the Physio Co and the Culture is Everything Club, the online group that I lead and support to become better leaders. And it's going well. It really is quite a powerful tool. So at 8:55 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time, 6:55 a.m. Perth time, we're going to wrap up this show for Thursday morning. Today's show was about what do we do? What action do we take when we notice some friction? Do we bravely step into the conversation and address it in a respectful, constructive way? Do we wait for the best, or do we do it in a attacking less effective way? It's not easy, but like everything that we do, the more reps we do, the more we build up these muscles, the more exercise we do, the better we get at these sort of skills, whether it's riding a bike, playing golf, treating clients or working with clients, or these sort of leadership skills. And so that is it. I would like to say have a great day. I'd like to say have a great weekend. I'd like to say thanks for being here. Get in touch if you'd like to. What relationship, what conversation needs to happen for you before the end of this week, this working week? There's 2 days. Get stuck into it. Think big, act small. See you next week. Bye-bye.